Well, thank you so much for staying with us. Let's talk about tech use in downstream oil and gas sector. ePump represents a comprehensive, automated and seamlessly integrated solution tailored for fuel station owners and management. The innovative solution is designed to empower station owners with the tools necessary to fully capitalize on their business potential. By providing remote monitoring and control capabilities over day-to-day transactions at the stations, ePump effectively alleviates the challenges and burdens typically linked with managing fuel stations. Someone is wondering, what's he talking about? I'm not the one that's going to give you the details. Ayodeji Ogundiran is CEO of Fuel Metrics Limited, a dynamic technology company specializing in the downstream oil and gas domain. At the forefront of their innovation stands ePump, the flagship product of Fuel Metrics Limited. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you. Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Well, first of all, let's begin with the deregulation of the downstream sector. I mean, that's been conversation for over the years.
Yep.
How helpful would you say it has been?
You mean the impact of the deregulation?
Yes.
Okay, so the deregulation has been a good development for the country, but for the people, we must admit that it's a bit hard on us.
Okay.
Right? So,
are you one of us?
Of course, I'm one of the people.
Just saying. Okay, but are we fully deregulated?
Well, those conversations are a bit tricky.
So let's leave it. Yeah. No tricks. So now, how have you personally been affected by this change?
So if I used to buy fuel, if I used to spend X amount on fuel monthly before, suddenly I find myself spending X times 3. So in the faces of the economic reality, everyone, as long as you're driving a car, you are affected.
But, I mean, you're an expert in the industry, so you understand the dynamics of the sector. But what effects do you believe the deregulation has imposed on fuel station operations?
Oh, okay. So on their bottom line, there's been 3 main impacts caused by this deregulation. If you used to a truck that cost you 6 million naira to lift from depot before suddenly starts costing you 18 million naira plus, meaning you're now spending times 3. Your working capital requirement has suddenly shot up by multiples of 3. That's one impact for them. Another impact is while we may argue that they are making more profits per liter, but if you consider that profit as a ratio of what their working capital is, what they are saying is that their gross margin has actually gone down by as much as 33%. So if you used to make 1.5% on a liter of PMS before, now you're making less than 1%. So and you're spending more to stock those stations. The third impact on their bottom line is, as we can observe, the sales volumes have dropped because lesser people are driving, people are buying lesser fuel than they used to buy. So those are 3 impacts for them. There's one other silent impact. Today, prices can change just like that. The effect of the regulation. So if you're not careful and you don't have the right technology in place to be able to respond to these changes, you might find yourself selling at a loss or selling higher than people are willing to buy, which means you're going to lose sales. So there's a lot of those dynamics affecting the business of the operators of the industry. So
then what suggestions would you offer as potential remedies for these challenges you've highlighted?
Yes, the industry has a lot of blind spots. If you look at how they operate from when you leave product at the depot till when you sell that product to the consumer, right? There's a lot of black spots, and marketers need to eliminate those black spots using technology.
What are some of these black spots?
So let's start from when you lift product from the depot. It's not uncommon for you to lift 35,000 liters from the depot, and when you are discharging at the station, you're getting 34,500, 34,300, meaning you've lost some volume. That's one. Two, today, 95% of the filling stations depend on manual report. Someone has to tell them manually that this is what we sold in a day, with no way of them verifying, until maybe after a month they say let's do audit, or 6 months, or in some cases years, they say let's do audit, and then they start finding a lot of gaps that has accumulated over the years, which has resulted in millions of losses for them. Right. The third is around their payment infrastructure. It's one thing for me to acknowledge that I sold 10,000 liters of product. It's another thing for me to be able to trace the amount, the money made from that payment to my bank account. Right. So today it's not the reality for them. So there's blind spot on logistics, there's blind spot on sales, there's blind spot on payment. Those are things that they need to eliminate with the use of technology.
Okay. So to what extent will technology shape the trajectory of Nigeria's downstream oil and gas sector?
Okay, the trajectory is changing on its own, right? With the deregulation, business is not as it used to be anymore.
It's no longer business as usual.
It's no longer business as usual. For some station, you are depending on the fact that the nearest station to me has a lot of queue, so people would not want to stay on that queue. That's why they're coming to buy from me. That station no longer has queues. So it means if you're not careful, your volume is going to drop significantly. Volumes are dropping across board, right, for every station. But beyond the volume drops across board is that there's volume shift as well, right? We are going to move, we as a consumer, we are going to move from stations who are inefficient, right? Either you cannot control the integrity of your station, your manager, your pump, or whatever it is. You cannot control your pricing. You have losses that you're trying to make up in other ways. What's going to happen is, if you're not careful, you're going to lose the entire market. And even your capital becomes capital at risk. So what technology can do is to make you remain competitive in the face of all those changes. Make sure that, okay, while people are buying less, people are buying from me. Whatever volume I'm selling, I'm not incurring losses due to inefficiencies. I'm not depending on outdated approach of doing things. Yes, we've been doing it that way for decades, but it doesn't mean that we have to continue to do it that way. Today, technology is changing everything. Technology means I can be anywhere in any part of the world, and I know exactly what's going on in my filling station. I know what volume I'm selling. I know how much money I'm making. I know what portion of my sales is coming from cash, what portion is coming via POS. If I have retainer customer, how much of those sales am I making? Another thing that's going to change is how we make payments at the gas stations. December last year, earlier part of this year, when there was scarcity of cash, queue in station, you could see you go to some stations, you want to pay cash. Of course, you don't have cash because there was cash scarcity. You want to use your card, banks were overwhelmed, and then a lot of transactions were not going through. So it means people were stranded. They had money, but they couldn't buy fuel. Stations need to live up to modern reality, expose new means of payment. There's a concept of automated fuel cards. It's not alien, but it's practically still new in Nigeria. Stations need to embrace more of those kind of technology. Self-service should be encouraged, right? Perhaps I can drop my cost per liter by 50 kobo, by 1 naira, by simply allowing people to serve themselves. These are areas that technology can play in transforming the landscape.
So is that, I assume that that's what e-pump is about. So in what ways is e-pump addressing the technological disparities for the downstream sector business in Nigeria, as you have highlighted? Okay,
so e-pump is a technology product that was developed after extensive R&D, considering the local environment. It's one thing for you to say, I can import technology, I see them in movies, or when I travel, I see how they operate out there and try to import those technologies. Those technologies were built not with you in mind. E-pump was built for the African environment in mind. So all of what we've discussed, if I'm lifting product from depot, how do I ensure I get the accurate volume at my station? When that product is discharging through my underground tank, how do I have visibility in real time to know this is my inventory, this is what I have in tank, no one is siphoning from it, my tanks are not leaking, my products are not disappearing, right? How do I know in real time how much volume I've sold? Do I have to wait until someone puts number? I mean, imagine, let me walk us through the journey a bit. If you have one filling station, and maybe you're a retiree and this is your full-time business, then you can make the argument and say, well, I'm at the station, I know what's going on from morning to night, but that's usually not the case. Usually you have multiple stations. You have 5, you have 100, you have 300 stations, right? It means that you cannot be there round the clock by yourself. So you're going to hire people. People want to make more money for themselves when they have the opportunity, right? If you don't have a technology that can give you that confidence to know what's going on in your station, you are going to be dealing with wrong input. And you know, there's something about when you are computing your profit, it's garbage in, garbage out. If I've fed you with false information, all your computations are going to be false. EPUMP gives you that reliability of not having to depend on the human element. The equipment in your station are communicating directly with you. You can be in the United States, you can be in Kenya. Just bring out your phone, you know, okay, this is how much I've sold, this is how much I have left in my tank, this is where my money is. Every day, by 7 a.m., you know, I mean, it sends you an automatic email telling you, oh, this is what you sold yesterday. This is what you have left in your tank. From what you sold, this is where the money is. This is the question you should ask. These pumps have not been performing well. Okay. In summary, it's about efficiency.
Okay. How does it work? And is it foolproof?
Yes. On the pump side, we install Internet of Things, IoT gadgets into the pumps. Those devices are communicating with the pump. They are practically the ones authorizing the pump to do every transaction. So for every liter that I dispense, they are capturing those information and storing it.
So somebody doesn't need to come with pen and paper to be writing out.
In fact, when it's installed, you as the attendant, you as the manager, it's installed in a part that you naturally do not have any business with. You will not be opening the inside of the pump. And when you decide you want to go an extra length to tamper it, there's a notification that says, oh, so pump in so stations have been tampered with. So you're no longer getting visibility. And then, of course, you can start investigating why was it tampered with, because the notification was sent out to you. So it's not waiting until someone comes and says, this is how much we sold. It's telling you, it's reading it in real time, and it's making it available for you anywhere you are. So you don't need to be in the station. You don't need to be omnipresent. You don't need to be...
So that's for the fuel station?
Yeah, that's for the fuel station.
How about the other places? Is there any device in the tank?
Yes,
Is there any device in the supplying tanker? Okay, so I mean, technologies are available for every line, everything,
from end to end, right? But some part of it might be pricey, some might be more efficient than the others. The most efficient today in filling station operation is automate your pumps, know what your pumps are saying, automate your tanks, know what your inventories are, automate your process.
So we don't need to dip that long.
Oh, no. So you do not need to pick that, that manual dipping that you take first thing in the morning and last thing at night. What is there is that an automatic tank gauge has been installed in your tank, and this is taking that dipping every minute. No longer about morning and night. So when things go wrong, you can actually investigate at what time of the day did it go wrong.
Okay, so how about the ones that supply you tank? I mean, you talked about getting 35,000 or 30,000, whatever, liters from the depot, and then you're getting 30 or 32,000 liters a day. How does that?
So that aspect of the business is one aspect that brings argument between the drivers and the stations a lot.
Especially when the tank is not leaking.
Yes. Most times the tank is not leaking, to be honest. The tank is not leaking.
Otherwise there will be explosions everywhere.
Of course, the tanks are not leaking. The first thing is, so when you lift product from the depot, the moment you lift it from wherever the depot is till it arrives, the only thing we have today is we can probably track location, which is what most people do. They track location of the truck. Now they are doing what we call gravity discharge at the station, right? Meaning when I'm discharging, there's nothing measuring what is coming out of the truck. It's just flowing in. So I measure what's in the tank, I measure that's in the truck, I measure what's in the underground tank, and that's what I'm reconciling. Outside Africa, you hardly find that. You are doing metered discharge. So if this tanker has brought product and it has a meter fitted on it, if I'm discharging 33,000, the meter on it is going to read 33,000. If you're going to have an argument, you're going to be having an argument about what the calibration of this, your meter. And that is easy to investigate because we have what we call a measuring can. I just bring in a can and I show you, oh, no, when I filled in 50 liters, when your meter said it's 50 liters, what came into my can is 45 liters, it's 48 liters, meaning something is wrong. Before you even discharge the rest, we need to correct that. Once that is corrected, then we can be certain that when you say you discharge 45,000 liters into my tank, you actually discharge 45,000 liters into my tank. And with that, you'd have caught a lot of those arguments, a lot of, no, I discharge 43,000, no, you discharge 45,000, because everybody has visibility. And those things are also automatable, meaning I can actually be in the comfort of my room anywhere in the world, and I know what that tank discharged, and I can tell you for a fact that this is what you discharged, and you, the driver, you know yourself, so there's not going to be a basis of argument.
So let me ask you again, is it foolproof? I mean, you tried to answer it the other time, but I would like you to expatiate on it.
Yes, so they're largely foolproof, right? But as with every technology, things change, things evolve. What companies like ePump, Fuelmetrics, what we do is we're also monitoring to see if people are devising new means of trying to work around these systems. And if we detect that, of course, we are correcting, we are alerting. But you know what? Not having data at all is a worse place to be. Okay. And that is where most people are today.
Wow. You talked about IoT.
Yeah.
Internet.
Yeah.
And how does it work? Because, I understand, I get the fact that, the device has to be internet enabled and all of that, but power outage, network issues and all those things, how is the circumvention? Okay,
so first and foremost, let's address power outage. Stations don't work when there's no power because they require power to put the pump up, right? Yeah. So you don't have concern about power outage. The devices are feeding from the power of the pump, meaning when the pumps are on, those devices are on automatically as well.
Does it store data?
Yes. Okay. So I'm going that next. Okay. For every transaction it captures on the pump, it's stored locally, first locally on the device before being synchronized to the cloud, okay. Right? Implication of that is if there's network outage, those transactions are not lost. They are simply stored on the devices. And the moment internet is restored, they are all synchronized. The devices can hold transaction for up to 90 days. Right?
Like our biometric machines for the elections.
Well, I don't know.
Beavers. Okay, go.
I don't know about the beavers, but I know about ePump, right? ePump will store transactions for 90 days. So it means that even if I lose visibility for a while, it's temporal. Once network is restored, everything is synchronized back. So I really have nothing to worry about as a station owner.
So no transaction happens without power, and so long as the transactions are happening, data is being collected.
That's correct.
And none of it is lost whenever there is power outage.
No.
None of it is lost whenever there is no internet service.
No.
So what happens if there is internet outage and the pump is dispensing, for instance?
No, so the devices don't require internet to make the pump dispense.
Okay, all right.
Right. So, but let me speak to one other aspect of ePump. Today, if you have, let's say 50 stations, and there's a price change, typically you would send engineers across those stations to go change those prices. Some say their manager should do it, which is more dangerous in itself, but the more efficient companies will tell you engineers are going around the stations to change it. It was efficient in those days when we have price change once in 6 months, once in a year, but today you can have it. There was a week there was price change thrice in that single week. Are you going to send engineers across 50 stations distributed around the country 3 times in 1 week? But with technology, I can change 10 times in a day. And that can make me competitive.
Automatically?
Yes, because on my phone, if I say change the price of this pump to so amount, within 1 minute, regardless of the number of stations I have, all the pumps are going to pick the new prices.
But don't forget that you could have different prices in different states, right?
Oh, I can group my stations in state and say I want also price for Lagos, also price for Oyo State, also price for Kano State. I have that flexibility, and I can pinpoint and say, okay, I'm not changing everyone else. I'm only changing this particular station.
Please don't change Lagos. Well, we can only wish you the best. This has been very, very enlightening, and we can just trust and expect that. First of all, Nigerians are better served. For me, that's the important thing. Does it also help in accurate measurement of liters of fuel that go into tanks? There are allegations in some quarters that certain fuel stations sell the liters shorter than the normal. Does it also help with that?
So, yes and no.
Okay.
Yes and no in the sense that there's between the station management and the driver, there are quite a number of players involved, right? There's a dealer who owns the station. There's a manager who is hired to run the station. There's the attendant who is standing by the station. If you're chauffeur driven, there's your driver who is buying fuel before it gets to you, right? Now, if any of these players that I mentioned were to play foul, guess what we are going to say? Guess who everybody's going to blame it on?
The fuel tank.
It's on the meters.
Yes.
Right? But the reality is that it's not every time it's coming from the meters according to the management. But because, like I said before, the managements are blind to the operations of what's going on in their station, they cannot tell. Right? And once e-pump is installed, it means they are no longer blind. Right? So one, the manager, the attendant, and every other player lose incentive to say, I'm adjusting the pump by myself. Right? Now, that now speaks to the customer. When you're buying fuel with cash or you're using POS, what you're doing is you're doing a disconnected transaction. There's nothing linking your payment with the fuel you're purchasing, right? And that's where automated fuel cards come in. When I use automated fuel cards, I take away that power from all of the players, from my driver, from the attendant, from the manager, meaning I'm going to get what the management is actually dispensing. Let's face it, management are more, the integrity of management vary from company to company. However, but it's a better place to be than having everybody rip you off along the value chain.
Well, I have to thank you very much for being here this morning. This is very, very enlightening. Ayodeji Ogundiran is CEO of Fuelmetrics Limited, a dynamic technology company specializing in the downstream oil and gas domain. At the forefront of their innovation stands e-pump, the flagship product of the organization called Fuelmetrics Limited. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much.
And all the best.
Yeah, thank you.
So we're back right after now to take on, well, you know, he just talked now about the likelihood of self-service. Let's talk about self-medication and lifestyle when we return.